Good evening, everyone, and welcome to
Midnight
Madness. You extend the S and it becomes Midnight Madness. Did you ever watch videos of the great Osho?
I have never watched videos of him. I didn't even know they even recorded him.
Oh, there's documentaries on him, documentaries that try to trash him.
Really?
He was the original disruptor guru.
Well, for those of you who don't know who Osho is, why don't you let them know?
Well, Osho was also known as Rajneesh. He was a guru from India who really had what at the time were considered very controversial views. And maybe even today they're considered controversial. And as always, the press hones in on the things that trigger people. Mm-hmm. And they disregard this plethora, this incredible, I want to say this epic volume of beautifully articulated and transmitted messages that he had. And he really taught people how to break free of ideas, patterns, titles. He would even say it about the culture he came from, which we both come from an Indian culture, and how restrictive certain the ideas of putting people into categories and all of that. He also had the most amazing video on the power of the F word, okay? And you can watch this on YouTube. And he said, this is the most magical word in the entire world.
The F word.
The F word. And he breaks it down. Why? And you're going to laugh and say,
I've actually never heard you talk about this.
Well,
so
did you find out something new every day?
Do tell.
So guys, Google or search on YouTube Osho and the F word and be prepared for something that's going to really entertain and enlighten you. So this word disruptor, we've seen it, we've lived it.
Yeah.
People will say things like, we've been doing this for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And
I'm going to tell you the honest truth.
Yeah.
You and I came to the planet as disruptors and didn't even know it, spent our entire life disrupting our families, disrupting everyone we met, disturbing the peace in that way, bringing in new peace.
Sometimes you disturb the peace to bring in peace.
That's exactly right. And we were disruptors in high school.
Yeah.
We were disruptors in our 20s.
And the whole thing...
We have been disruptors our entire life.
And it wasn't about making anybody wrong. Everybody's entitled to what they think.
So what is the definition of disruptor then?
People who think you're disrupting them because you trigger them, because you say things that don't fit into their template of what things should be. I grew up with people who were like, why are you wearing eyeliner? Why do you have your hair like that? Why do you wear clothes like that?
Well, Mr. Rogers was a disruptor.
Mr. Rogers was a badass disruptor.
Yeah. There's a lot of disruptors that actually came in like
Gandhi
Trojan
was
horses.
a disruptor.
Lucille Ball was a disruptor.
Malcolm X was a disruptor. Freddie Mercury was a disruptor.
Three's Company was a disruptor.
Ooh, you went to pop culture 70s sitcoms.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
But they did. You know something? That's
Madonna
interesting.
was a disruptor.
But can I focus on you just said Three's Company? Because people think, what are you talking about? That's just a sitcom. Scooby-Doo was a disruptor. Let me tell you why. So Three's Company was a disruptor because they talked about being gay. When you were never even able to talk about it. And they had to couch it in this funny way.
They talked about every hot topic that were trigger topics at that time.
And they wrapped it in this comedy of errors.
And I think the first comedian to ever do that beside Lucille Ball was All in the Family.
Yeah, Archie Bunker was a disruptor.
Archie Bunker was a disruptor.
Because he was spouting all these racist, narrow-minded views, and he was speaking for everybody who had something to say about another group of people.
Now, would you consider...
But then he was kind of also lovable.
Would you think like the Fat Albert series and that whole...
Absolutely, because you never saw people of color...
So that would mean different strokes.
Well, if you think about even Fat Albert, coming in as an animated show, and then... And by the way, created by Bill Cosby,
right?
Who you will say, well, how controversial is everything going on around him? But when you look at you guys are tuning in to watch what we're going to channel, and this is about channeling, but this is about channeling because it is about how all of these things that showed up in pop culture, classical culture, and all of the modalities, the media, which is music, movies, television, books, dance, drama, theater, street performances.
Now, here's
oral histories, storytelling.
So here's the thing. we can take disrupting all the way back to the colonial times. We could take it back to, we could take it into the political sector. We could take it to Obama. We could take it to Trump. We could take it to everybody who's a disruptor.
Right.
So what constitutes the kind of disrupting that I personally like are the ones that end and start with peace, that feel good. So it's not, I don't like violent disruptors. Although I am sitting here in the United States of America,
which is founded on violent disruption, right?
Yeah. Colonialism and disruption.
And we've channeled, listen, guys, as a channeler, I have channeled what people might consider to be controversial figures. Thomas Jefferson coming through. And people have something to say about that. Red Eagle comes through, and some people have something to say about that. But let's remember something for the record, everyone.
So then, if you
on the other side, you are not any ethnicity. So there are souls who came to the planet who were known as, they became notable figures, right? Thomas Jefferson, you see him, has a Caucasian male coming from a particular background. Red Eagle, a Native American male coming from a particular background. Maybe somebody channels Princess Diana and she's her background. But think about this. The soul has no ethnicity. That is an identity for the planet at that time, coming through to do, say, and be what was required to move things forward at that time.
So you could say that about Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, and all the...
and all the trigger words, because now people will say, well, you can't channel those people, but that's for those people who believe that, right? So we're living in this world
where... So we're living in a world of of people wanting to be offended, or they're looking for a reason to be offended? Or is it that people are waiting to see if you say something that
I think
they
it's
don't
like
believe
that.
in?
Sure, I think that's human nature, where we all want to see the perfect vision of everything. You can grow up having these celebrity icons who changed your life, formed your life, helped you to become who you are. Then sometimes you meet them in person and you get disappointed because they're not living up to your idea of it. And meanwhile, they're just human. And when they're doing that art that inspired you, they are open channels.
Right.
At the same time, they are souls having the human experience, having to deal with love, work, life, death, sickness, triumph, and defeat, like the rest of us. So I noticed one thing. We have to stop judging.
Right.
In fact, maybe the entire internet is this big experiment of all of us judging who we're looking at, what they're saying, what they're not doing, how they're dressed, who do they think they are, how come they don't do this, how come they don't do that.
It's going to get to a point, don't you think?
We are at that point.
Like anything, there's a tipping point. So there has to come to a point.
Well, I'm getting bored of the whole idea that there even are comments on videos anymore. I mean, listen, for all the people that are with us, we enjoy your comments, but I'm just making a philosophical observation where there's a part of me that I watch things on social media and I watch that everyone has something to say. You can just put the word orange is my favorite color, or the term, the sentence orange is my favorite color, and I guarantee you someone is going to start spewing hate at orange, and just give it a couple of comments and someone's going to say something terrible. So that's where...
Yeah. I mean, like what comes to mind before the internet, let's go back in history. So the French Revolution. So you have all the commoners and all the, what did they call them at the time? Plebs? Is that the word?
The English called. There's that show called Plebs, right?
Show, right? So, and they did not like how the royals were living. They did not like how Marie Antoinette did anything. And so they burned the castle down. They overturned the government because everyone was starving on the streets. And it was like, so they had popular culture, popular opinion. And they didn't have a way to comment that way, but they had a way to show their they were disruptors in their way. So I guess there's disruptors in many different facets, but I guess where I think where this is going to go, and I think what everybody's waiting to see who's going to start this mission is, when does disruption just look peaceful? When is it a peaceful disruption? I mean, isn't that what the gurus did? So Jesus did that. Muhammad did that. Like all the big teachers, all the big gurus.
Anyone who came through that made an impact.
But brought peace. That's the key factor,
But we don't know if because someone might say, well, Christianity didn't bring peace. Why are we all speaking English?
Right.
That was done through.
But Jesus didn't promote violence.
We don't know anything, because if we're coming from we don't know anything.
Right.
At this point, look where the discussion goes, guys. And I'm sure some people are thinking, like, what are they going to say? Right? Catch that, because notice how quickly our preconceived ideas about what people should say or not say comes up. So I come from the place of, and it's interesting being a channeler and a medium, because I have, one might say, I have very strong opinions about, well, I channel spirit guides and I give messages from the other side, which are proven, because when I give readings, thousands of them, there's things that there's no way I could have known. So now some people will say, but that's because you're channeling demons. Really? When I gave the beautiful message to this person whose mom crossed over from that showed all this love, that there was this private joke between them that was given to them, and her telling them they're okay, you think that's a demon. And the reason they'll think that is because they've been programmed by a set of beliefs since they were born, by people telling them in their particular religion, you're not supposed to do that. So we are still, guys, living in this reality, this co-created experience. By the way, notice I have to pause every time, because some people say, this is not a co-created experience. What's this bullshit he's talking about? And then they're going to write it, or they're going to, thumbs down, whatever it is. It's getting to the point, as you were pointing out, that we are, hopefully we're getting sick of this. And that we're just going into being open and receiving ideas. Because no matter how much I channel messages for the last 20 years, no matter how many psychic messages, the people who believe are the people who believe. The people on the fence, they tilt this way. But then there'll be some people that they're going in there that way. I don't want to hear this. And as I'm saying this right now, guys, I feel like the guide who's going to come through is going to address this. And I think that do you feel the energy in the air? Because anytime we go into Midnight Madness and we're going to channel.
Yeah, I never know. Usually I have a topic.
I notice we get emphatic.
Tonight, I didn't feel like my topic was the topic of the evening. Like I didn't feel it in the air. So I'm going to.
Yeah, I'm feeling it
open.
now.
Yeah.
I feel that they're here.
Okay. So whenever you want to start.
Are you guys ready? We got all hyped up right there. But this is the stuff I care about. I care about all of us getting along. I care about all of us stop fighting and judging each other. I want people to be able to live.
I feel like once everybody found out that they had a voice that could be heard by someone else.
Yeah.
Because remember when we were growing up, you go down the street, everyone's in their houses. Like you don't really know what anybody's thinking.
Right.
And you don't really have like that connection. So everything had a little bit of a soft glow because you didn't really know what is really going on behind closed doors. And then when the internet came out, when technology provided itself, starting obviously with the telephone and working its way up.
Yeah.
But when that all started, it's like that's when everybody said, oh, my voice means something. I can say something. I have an opinion. I can make a difference. Sitting in their bedroom as a young person, or sitting in their hospital bed, they can't get out of bed, they can't socialize, or maybe they are, a housewife or stuck at home or something where they feel like they can't be heard. So where do they go? What do they call that? Something warriors. There's a
keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
I've heard that. So it's like that's where they find that they have power, they have a voice, they can be heard.
So is it possible that we are existing just to be seen and heard? When we're seen and heard,
it feels like that's
we get
what
some
everybody,
satisfaction, right?
Yeah, it's like it feels like there's a validity, like I matter, getting that kind of feedback, getting somebody to react to something you said means that you are. It's almost like a validation. It's like you're. It's kind of like you're telling yourself, like, yeah, like. I matter. I exist. I said that, and then that person was affected. Now that could be positive or negative, but it's just a feeling.
All right. Well, let's get on with the getting on, as they used to say.
All right, let's do it.
Back in where I come from.
I remember that phrase too.
Get on with the getting on.
Yeah.
It was a little risque, actually. That's the statement.
Well, don't go on a tangent, because you know.
Well, I was picking up this sacred sage mist.
Spray it. All
right, guys. Close your eyes. Here it comes. Spraying sage in the air. Close your eyes. Take a breath. Breathe it in. All right, drop in. Drop your shoulders. Put down whatever it is if you're holding on to something just for this moment. Close your eyes and tune into my voice. At the count of 3, we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, and we'll hold the breath until I say blow it out, and you'll exhale through your mouth, releasing any tension, stagnation, or resistance. Let's begin. 1, 2, breathe in. Hold the breath. Relax every muscle in your face. Drop your shoulders, relax your hands, and blow it out. One more time. Breathe in slowly. Hold the breath. And exhale. Surround yourself with light. A point of light emanating from the space between your eyebrows, becoming very still and quiet now, not moving a muscle. Settle in. Make your breathing so peaceful that you would not disturb a fly. That's how you slow it all down. Imagine the light surrounding you from head to toe, front to back, top to bottom, expanding in every direction the way ripples expand in a pond. Light emanating all around you, going through the walls, the ceiling, and the floor. Expanding beyond the house that you are in, spreading throughout your neighborhood, your city, your state, your country, and now bigger than the planet. Zoom out to outer space, seeing the entire planet surrounded by a ball of light. And let it just hang there in that ball of light, secure. As I say this blessing, Great Spirit of Love, thank you for uniting us at this precious and powerful moment where all moments intersect, known as now. Thank you, thank you, thank you to Spirit Guides, and may everyone who's watching this surrender to the magic of life again. All right, you can open your eyes, and I'm going to just step out, step back, and allow them to come through. I'm Phineas.
Hi, Phineas.
As you have been discussing, the reality that you have created together is for the sole purpose, and you may spell that soul as S-O-L-E and as S-O-U-L. The sole purpose is indeed related to the origins of the word soul or solo, in your language referring to the singular, to the one. As your religions of recent times have promoted the belief in one God, that stems from divinity as being the feeling of oneness, not simply the idea of one deity that rules all moments, past, present, and future, sitting on a throne in an imagined celestial environment. The oneness that your ancestors and those whom you are connected to in other dimensions, that feeling, that light, that loving place, that universe. You are speaking, as of recent times, of the multiverse. That is a perspective of understanding different realities, but overall there is one agreement, and that agreement is what you call isness. What is the being state that is only in the present moment. There cannot exist another moment other than now. Whether it is in the focus of what your life is, meaning that you are focused in this present moment, hearing these words. Another part of your consciousness is focused in another dimension, as you put it. There are other yous experiencing other realities. There are other planetary systems. There are systems that are beyond what you understand as planets. Here you say planet, and by another perspective you may say plane of existence. And so, if your sole purpose and your soul's purpose is to receive that which you can experience, you receive a feeling, you see. You say, well, I create a feeling. Yes, you can. You can create and receive all at the same time. When you are receiving inspiration for an idea, that idea might be fully created in the form that you will soon recognize reflected back to you once you create it. If it is a story, if it is a song, if it is even an idea that you simply speak out loud. You see, the creation is a transmission of what already is. And as you are living, breathing, and speaking, both verbal words spoken with your mouths or spoken with your being, the effect is the same. For the intention is automatically entwined with the reception. That simply means that when you are in your finest and most powerful experience of creation, you are surrendered completely. You are not trying to control that which is coming through you. You see, guiding it is very different than controlling it. If one were to guide your hand gently, it is an entirely different experience than one controlling every movement in your body. So to be out of control is very different than releasing control. Even the most wonderful performers are channeling a beautiful song, and there is a great resonance that is being experienced, the vibrato of their voices, the tonality, the timbre of the music, all of these vibrations that are pulsating, radiating at different frequencies. You are hearing them with your ears physically. You are feeling them with the emotional state you are currently in. And those frequencies can shift your emotional state. If you are going about your day and you were to hear a song, and it were to touch your heart in a way that is sad or dramatic, you may move into that vibration, and yet that sadness does not harm your cells, for it is coming through the music, you see. And yet that same sadness, if you were to live it in an extended period of time, or to feel that sadness as a way of life, as an undercurrent of your day, now that could be damaging, you see. And yet the pain that you feel from a sad piece of music is welcomed by you. You feel sad in it, and yet there is a certain yumminess to it, isn't there? Mm-hmm. And so you listen to it over and over again. And that piece of music becomes cathartic. It becomes transformative, for you are now nestled in that sadness, and you are no longer resisting it. In it, you are feeling a certain type of intimacy with the love that it brings forth from you. It is as if it is carving into you. And as an artist creates and carves into a piece of rock to create a statue, it is removing that which is unnecessary to reveal that which lives and exists underneath. And so, as we have told you, as Michelangelo stared at the large piece of rock that was brought into his studio, he simply released the angel that was within the rock. He did not change the rock into the statue of the angel, though it appears to be as such. But for the artist who lives in that flow of oneness, he already is in touch with the angel that is inside of the rock, and simply removing that which is unnecessary. And so, if your soul's purpose on the earth is your soul purpose, known as oneness, then the surrender is your victory. For you are already one. You only wish for others to realize it. In the case of racism on your planet and your society, those who are on the receiving end of this discrimination want those to know that, cannot you see the truth that we are one? For the oneness exists. And in those cases where there have been those who have been prejudiced against another group, when they have awakened to love, to acceptance, to embracing the other, there is a freedom that is released within the being. And they have surrendered to oneness. In that surrender to oneness, oneness is created, is it not, simultaneously? Mm-hmm. That is the key and the secret of creative expression as well. And so your creations are there to recreate you. That which you create reflects and speaks back to you. Even your children, though they are not your creation, are they? They have lived many lifetimes, fully formed, choosing to experience their life path on earth with you. Not only because of you, but in spite of you and despite your behavior, and because of your behavior, both at once, you see. Mm-hmm. You paint with the paintbrush, even though one might find it clumsy to dip it in paint. Perhaps it would be an easier way. And now with your digital technology, perhaps you will simply do it with your mind, controlling digital brushes on a digital screen. And perhaps that will lead you to be able to do it simply in the air. One only needs to see the progression or the advancement of technology to see where it shall go. If it has gone this much in 50 years, imagine where it will go. Mm. Now, what if you were to apply that understanding, for you very quickly understood that about external technology, and what about internal technology? And that is your ability to create the vibration within yourself. To be more advanced within yourself would mean simply to look at what you admire in the advancements in technology. You appreciate a faster processing speed. You wish to have that. You appreciate greater resolution in your images, greater sound quality, greater resonance. You appreciate a longer battery life. Mm-hmm. You appreciate a power-saving mode. You appreciate new fuel sources for this technology. You wish for it to be lighter yet stronger. All of these things that we have described in your technology are wishes that you wish for yourself, mm-hmm. you see. And so, that which you create recreates you. Bring the focus back to you. Mm-hmm. And eventually you will see there is no difference. There is only oneness, mm-hmm. because these are the concepts mm-hmm. of oneness, you see. With regards to your comments earlier, about the comments, mm-hmm. those who have come to the earth as you know it in this point of time and space, they have come to understand creation and to be seen and to be heard in what it means to them. This is very clear. You have organized yourselves into groups, by beliefs, by identities of various kinds, so that you may feel that you are not alone. Then there are those who reject such ideas, and they move to places on the planet, perhaps in nature, or perhaps they hide away inside of their own apartment buildings, in an urban environment. And they are locked away, and yet they are still living with you. Physically they are, mentally they are not, or so they think. Because much of their existence is based upon that they feel separate from you. And so one may be a hermit living in an urban environment for 30, 40, 50 years in the same apartment, never talking to the neighbors. And there are many like this. Perhaps they feel that they are powerless to move away. Or perhaps they just don't want it bad enough, you see. Perhaps they are getting something out of feeling different and separate while they are in that building with others, whom they judge, reject, And yet, in some way, they need them for the contrast. Then there are those who say, I do not mind living on the street. In fact, I want to go live in the woods, and many have done so throughout time. And then they must deal with the trees and the spirits, and the moon and the sun and the stars, and the wind and the rain and the snow and the thunder. And they feel that this is where their focus lies. But you see, even then they will have to be one with nature. Whether their bodies shall go into the earth as flesh and bone or as ashes, the physical part of them will become one with the earth. What they are as a soul, as a spirit, what will that become one with? Or is it that the soul, the spirit that you are, surrenders into oneness? You see, it is a resistance. What about those whom you refer to as ghosts, who are around on the planet here, hanging out in spaces, haunting certain locations? Whether they are troublesome or whether they are friendly matters not. Are they resisting oneness, or are they seeking it out? Perhaps the ghost that haunts a space is interested in having something to do. And so their emotional content of their being, which could be that they are still angry or still upset, you have every right to feel what you feel. Your wisdom will come based upon whether or not you see that it is doing you good or not. And so the need to be seen and heard, to say, I find this to be right and I find that to be wrong. You see, you can spend your entire life caught up in that drama. Indeed, it is a drama, isn't it? For it is very dramatic. Then there are those who say, I have no time for this drama. And so they shut a part of themselves off to become numb to certain things, certain fears, certain exploitations they feel of society through what you refer to as social media. Now, did social media create these feelings and behavior, or simply shine a spotlight on them? As you were referring to this earlier, weren't you? That you did not know in the past what your neighbors' beliefs were.
Right.
Exactly. And what they were doing in their homes and how they were acting. And no one was catching these private moments and making them for the world to see. Now, tools do these things, you see. For as the hammer can build a house, it can also destroy a house. As one may use a telephone to say, I love you, the other may say it to say the opposite. And so these tools exist to be neutral, you see. And that is the very definition, or at least one quality of the definition of what a tool is. It is how you use it. There are those who discover things that are not meant to be tools, but use them as a tool. These are the most creative ones, aren't they? For you might say that necessity becomes the mother of invention. Now, when given an opportunity, a person may find a way, as you referred to earlier, as keyboard warriors, to feel very safe from their own homes, to spout unpleasant words at another whom they do not know, and they feel very good to type it in and hit it. Hit the keys. Very satisfied to see their own words printed upon a screen, reflecting back to them the validity of what they feel, only to be challenged by another sooner or later in a verbal match.
So I have a question on this topic. Can I ask it?
Yes.
What is going to happen in the future in the next 5 to 10 years? Is there going to be an exhaustion factor in this comment culture?
Exhaustion comes from the escalation of energy. And as students of energy, if you wish to understand it, you must do your best to control your triggered emotions about what you are seeing. If you study it as energy, you will see where it will go. Energy dissipates after it has burned itself out. That which it is flowing through. If you have a candle and there is fire energy, it will only last as long as the wick or the wax, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right then. Now, in the case of the bickering, the judging, and the fighting that you are seeing on the internet, for that to burn itself out, people would have to reach a point where they are saying it is not doing much for them.
For the individual person, they have to say it. It's not doing anything for me.
Now, to have that realization, which is a very grand realization, for now you are entering into the world of personal transformation. Can a person do that in their own private life? To say, this is not serving me. You are also living in a time where you continue to digest forms of entertainment that you yourselves know is not feeding you for what you are wanting to do. You are engaged in many activities. Now, this is not a judgment, nor is it a doomsday prophecy. It is for you to relax into yourself and say, there is a way to see it in a much more flexible perspective. Not to make your behaviors simply about reward and punishment and who told you not to eat that donut. You were trying to lose weight and you ate the donut. You see, this is a militaristic type of judgment. One may say, I wish to be balanced. Well, each individual will find out what is balanced for them according to what it is that they want to experience day to day. One may say that I would rather be in a certain weight class and mostly eat what I want, and I do not mind being a bit heavier or a bit underweight. I do not wish to have those restrictions upon me, and they are willing to receive whatever that brings. There are others who will fight to the bitter end, that they do not want to experience that. And so they will become very regimented with their diets and their exercise. This can be applied anywhere. It can be applied to moral beliefs, that I must be a very strict type of person with what I believe and what my behaviors are, what is permissible and what is not. It is everywhere in life. There are musicians who do not know how to read music, and other musicians who see that as very lazy, or that they are not real musicians. And so who is the real musician? What came first, the music or the person who was notating the music? Clearly, the music was played first before any notation was required. Notation was invented based upon a need to try to recreate what was played. And so notation began. To communicate and to make it neutral, that now that music is written by these symbols and it can be repeated by another. And that is what language is, isn't it? The written word.
Right.
Now, another person may speak that language and read what is written, such as actors do. And the inflections, the tonality, and the delivery of those words upon the paper, which are neutral, aren't they? Anyone can read them aloud in any accent that they have, and the effect will be different. And so, a piece of music can be played exactly as it is written by 10 different musicians, and shall sound different. Now, to the trained ear, it will sound very different. To the casual listener, it will seem to be the same piece of music. They will not be able to place their finger upon why those 10 pieces of music, actually one piece of music, sound like 10 pieces of music. That they each sound a bit different, and that is the personality of the musician coming through, how they hear it. You see, the physical capacity of the human body is very interesting, for you hear things differently than another. This has been done with very interesting tests on your internet. Some years ago, you had a very interesting phenomenon of a piece of clothing that was one color perceived by another. And certain sounds were heard differently by each person.
Right.
And so this shows you that your receptors are different. Now, those physical receptors are not what we are referring to, though they are valid. Your eyes see a certain spectrum. Another person may see more gradients in color than you. And hearing as well. Now, to take that concept and then to expand upon it, that there are artists who hear music much more clearly than you do. They can differentiate between and distinguish different instruments in a piece of music that you could not hear. 13 instruments, you only could make out 4. Such is the case with psychics and channelers.
Right.
They are hearing frequencies that are beyond your normal physical capabilities. And they are able to channel.
Right.
You all may channel something. You may channel higher versions of yourself. Professional channelers are channeling spirit guides as you refer to them. Perhaps the sports person is channeling the energy of the gods or nature itself to hit the home run, to score the goal, or to land the ball in the basket, or the bow shooting the arrow to the center of the target. Many people who are engaged in high physical skill level performance sports understand this place of no mind. That is the space of the one who is channeling. No mind simply means that they are not holding the reins very tightly. They are not gripping the steering wheel very tightly. They are relaxed. They are open. They are trusting. But if you are engaged mostly in judgment, in cruelty, in shadow, in consistently pointing out that which is wrong within others, and perhaps that reflects what you feel about your own self, then you are in a circuit of discontent. The circuit keeps going on and on and on. And one may say, won't you tire of this? You would be very surprised. Some souls continue for the rest of their physical lives in this circuit. In fact, that circuit is re-energizing them. For the appetite for feeling bad becomes insatiable.
Wow. What do you do with people like that in your life?
You will watch them take it to the grave, and even beyond. For that which occurs in the dimensions beyond physical life is that you must continue. You will continue to learn. You will continue to create. You are not rewarded. You are shown more. And that in and of itself could be called a reward. If you decide that your consciousness is expanding, and you decide that that expansion is something that you welcome and a gift, then more and more shall come. Some choose to hold on as if they are holding on to a boulder for dear life in raging waters, the water being the flow of life, and the rock representing their fear, their stubbornness, their resistance to releasing control, for they feel that they will not end up where they wish to go. But they do not consider that perhaps, due to their fears and programming, they are unaware of where they are supposed to go, and that what they will discover once they release this control and breathe into the divine essence of their own being, that they will not only find that they are discovering a wonderful place that they are arriving at, but that the feeling is happening in the present moment. And so the point of humanity, meaning the present point at where humanity is meeting itself, is based upon the reflection that one does. You self-reflect. The wisest of you shall find self-reflection upon all that you lay your blessed eyes upon, rather than to judge another. If one were to walk through this experience of existence, that all is divine source energy speaking back to you, that your physical body, as you know it, is quite temporary. Though it does not mean that this now is not the most important moment. It cannot be, and makes no logical sense to say that later is where the truth and the now exists. Because every moment leads to that. And therefore, the now is what you have and shall always be what you have, and shall always be what you experience, even when you are resisting the now, even when you are living in the past or the future. You see, a part of your consciousness is still here. It is your focus. For example, you may be focused on a point across the street, but a car may hit you before you get there. Because you are still in the now, you see. Your physical body is in the now. Or a part of you may jump back from that vehicle about to hit you because there is a part of your consciousness still very much aware. As you are learning how to surrender to your multidimensional reality, breathe. For that breathing returns you to the ebb and flow in the most comfortable way, the state of non-resistance, and, you might say, the homeostasis of the body, mind, and spirit, which then can feel the soul purpose and the soul's purpose to surrender to oneness. Bless you.
Thank you.
Hi.
I really wish I could just talk to Phineas for like 6 hours straight.
We should do, let's do, I have to laugh because when I come out of the channeling, I try to become all like I'm having a conversation, but I'm so used to it after all these years. Yeah, so you were saying.
Yeah, I can see your eyes. You try to come back in.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Trying to refocus.
Phineas is the professor. Boy, if we had all just had Phineas growing up.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That's why channeling, it's such a part of our history as human beings.
Back in the day to the internet today. I mean, like, he's just so tapped in.
He's everything.
So do you know, in the middle of all of this, I looked over and our little mixing program here, our laptop, was on 1% battery, and it was almost going to die.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to process how to handle this. Do I get up while he's channeling and go get the charger while he's channeling?
Oh, wow.
And just let that happen?
What did you do?
So I realized, I was like, oh my God. So I texted Erica to go get the battery, and she got it, and I plugged it in right in time.
That's
before
awesome.
He said goodbye. That's why I got distracted.
And wasn't he talking about technology?
Yeah,
that's amazing. Battery life.
Having enough battery charge. You know, do you notice that? And now I'm like really hot. I was cold,
me too.
Now I'm like really hot. So did you notice? And I'm not going to go too much longer because I know how you feel right after channeling. But do you notice that, like, emotions, when you feel very emotional, there's an exhaustion after. Like, it takes so much energy to produce those emotions. Even if it's really happy emotions, sad emotions, angry emotions, just it requires so much juice, like battery juice.
Yeah.
And then you just are tired from it.
Yeah. I do see that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like life. But what gets us through is the ability
to be more neutral.
And to breathe. And like what Phineas was saying about breathing, it's recentering us. Look, it's so interesting. We have breathing classes. Well, not now. In India, they were teaching you breathing for thousands of years. But now we have breathwork classes. No, we've always had breathwork classes. It mostly began in India with those traditions, but maybe part of the other traditions as well. Anyway, the point is that, guess what? We do need to know how to breathe, even though you might say, well, babies know how to breathe. Yes. And then after that, we don't know how to breathe.
Yeah,
we
because
forget
we get
how to breathe.
Caught up in our minds, and we get stuck in our emotions, and we hold our breath, and we don't feel safe, and da-da-da-da.
I'm going to do a video, by the way, it came to me recently, about the health benefits of meditation and connecting to your guides.
That's really,
so guys,
really
I'm going to make that video.
Future video.
It's going to be next week. So tune into that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everybody, for dropping in with us tonight for Midnight Madness.
An interview with a spirit guide.
That's right.
Be well.
See you next time.